Alhamdulillah, I'm also well. Thank you for asking. Right. So, what are we busy with now? Busy with a delayed Mubtada. Okay. So, if you know what the Mubtada is, then you should know what the delayed Mubtada is. Isn't it so? Is it so or is it not so? Okay, let's start from the beginning. Who can remind us what the Mubtada is? Oh, that's a translation. Just translated the word Mubtada. I want you to explain to me what is the Mubtada in grammar. That's a translation.
Mubtada.
Who can tell me the Mubtada? What's a Mubtada in full?
Mubtada in grammar comes first in a sentence.
He says the Mubtada is the one that comes first in the sentence.
Never preceded.
Well, that's a
by-
good start.
It's also never preceded.
And it's in
by-
Rafa. It's never preceded by something. It's the topic of the sentence. No? So that together constitutes the Mubtada. So what's the Mubtada? The Mubtada is that word, that noun, you can almost say, that noun that appears first in the sentence in halatul rafa, and it will be the focus or the subject. That noun that appears first in the sentence, and it will be in halatul rafa, and it will be the focus or the subject of the sentence. That's the Mubtada, right? So that's what we know about the Mubtada. One of the primary things we know about the Mubtada is that the Mubtada must be in halatul rafa. That the Mubtada must be in halatul rafa. And we also know that the Mubtada must be first. So what is this delayed Mubtada? Let's read the notes. So it says, I can't see this notes. Every al-jumla al-ismiya must have a khabar and a Mubtada. We all agree on that? And we've been studying the khabar and we've been studying the Mubtada. And different types of, we studied 5 different types of khabar that you can, or 5 ways in which the khabar can appear. And we've discussed 3 or 4 ways in which the Mubtada can appear. The primary way is just a word in halatul rafa, right? But we also said it can also as a dhamir. We said it can also ismul ishara. We said it can also appear as a that the Mubtada can appear, right? And we've discussed 5 different ways that the khabar can appear, right? So it says every jumla ismiya must have a khabar and a Mubtada. The entity, being or thing, which is the focus of the sentence, is called a Mubtada, right? It will most often be first in the sentence and be definite and the state of rafa, right? So you can underline the most often, right? And you can underline the definite. Why? Because the Mubtada doesn't always have to be definite. Sometimes you'll find a Mubtada that's not definite, which is not common. But for example, yes. Excuse me? A collective noun, for example, right? As a good example of that. And then also it will be the state of a rafa. So the one rule that must always apply is that it must be in the state of a rafa. Number 2, information about the focus of the sentence is called a khabar. So we know that. So it gives us another point. At times, the Mubtada can appear after the khabar. At times, the Mubtada can appear after the khabar. So we now say that the Mubtada must always be first. And the Mubtada comes from the word And the mubtada comes from the word bada'a. And the word bada'a means to begin. The mubtada comes from the word bada'a. And the word bada'a means to begin. So by virtue of the very namesake of the mubtada, it must come first. But still, it doesn't have to always come first. You can find an instance where the mubtada doesn't come first, right? In this case, it is called the mubtada mu'akhar. It's called the mubtada mu'akhar. It's called the mubtada mu'akhar, the delayed mubtada. And the khabar that appears before the mubtada is called the khabar muqaddam. It's called the khabar muqaddam, the khabar that is brought forward. Which is the delayed mubtada, which is now the mubtada mu'akhar, most often occurs when both the following are present, right? So he's saying, in other words, he's saying there's two signs for a mubtada mu'akhar. In other words, he's saying what? That there are two signs for the mubtada mu'akhar. What are these two signs? He says, when the khabar is a harf jar and ism majroor, and when the mubtada is indefinite. So yeah, over there he said it will most often be definite. So when the mubtada is indefinite, most likely the mubtada will come afterwards. Yes. Yes. Because it would be difficult for you to, in fact, it's near impossible for you to have a mubtada that is indefinite and it be first. Why? Because the khabar can also be indefinite. In fact, the khabar is almost always indefinite. So if you have a mubtada, for example, rajulun, a man, right? And then you wanted to say a man is tall. How do you say that? Rajulun tawilun, but isn't that a mawsuf sifa? Rajulun tawilun. I told man. It's a mawsuf sifa. You cannot say something definite about something indefinite in Arabic language. It's near impossible for you to form that sentence. We can say a man is tall, but that statement actually doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Because a man is not tall. A man is a concept which is void of specifications. And the concept of man can only receive specifications when you specify the man in question. Because a man is not tall. A man is anything. A man is anything that is suitable for a man to be described with. A man is not tall and a man is not short. A man is a man. You understand? So when you're speaking about something indefinite, a concept, you cannot say something about it unless you specify it. Make sense? For example, I can't say a bottle is plastic. A bottle is not plastic. A bottle can be glass. A bottle can be anything. In order for me to give information about something, I must specify that thing. That is one of the key reasons why you can almost never have what? A mubtada that comes first that is definite. Because you can't say something about a concept. You can't give information about the concept without specifying that concept. That's why you say ar-rajulu, or you say an-nasu, people, tawil, people are tall. Or lin-nasi tulan, for people is length. It's a mantiqi thing. It's a thing of rationality, and language is an expression of thought. So that which cannot make sense rationally, like it should be difficult for language to carry that meaning. Make sense? It's difficult too. It's a bit of a, but anyways, it will become clear to you through the examples, inshallah ta'ala. So the first sign is that the khabar is a harf jar ism majroor. Harf jar ism majroor. And we explained that type of khabar before, isn't it so? So then the mubtada is indefinite. So when you have a mubtada that is indefinite and you have a khabar that is a harf jar ism majroor, then you have a delayed mubtada and you have a preceded, what do you say? A khabar brought forward. So those are the notes. So let me rephrase the notes for you, right? In a way that is more useful. Because I think, is the notes useful to you? If it's useful, then I won't rephrase it. Extra khabar will do. Excellent. This auntie is so in grammar. So, what was I saying? Yes. You can take it like this. When you have a harf jar ism majroor, when you have a harf jar and a ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism, then you have likely found a mubtada muakhar and a khabar muqaddam. Make sense? When you have a jar majroor followed by an indefinite ism, then you have likely found a mubtada muakhar and a khabar muqaddam. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to say it again. When you have a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism, then you have likely found a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. I'm saying now khabar muqaddam first because the khabar actually comes first, right? The khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. When you have a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite ism, you have likely found a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. That should summarize the notes for you. Meaning what? The notes is telling you that when this these things occur when this happens. So that means that when I see a harf jar ism majroor and I see an indefinite word afterwards, then I know, this must be the khabar muqaddam and this must be the mubtada muakhar. Right? So let's see how that plays out. He says, fil bayti rajulun. I have fil bayt, that's fi is a harf jar. Al bayt is a ism majroor. Now it's followed by an indefinite word. So that means that this is probably a khabar which comes first and a mubtada which is delayed. So how do I translate it? You can either translate it, in the house is a man, or a man is in the house. You can either translate it as in the house is a man, or a man is in the house, or in the house is a man. In the house is a man, or a man is in the house. Now there are definite benefits to this. You could have easily said ar-rajulu fil bayti. The man is in the house. But he didn't want to say that. He wanted to say he wanted to say that there's a man in the house. He didn't want to specify the man. Maybe he didn't have knowledge of who the man was. Therefore, he could not say the man. He had to say a man. But now he couldn't say, he could also say rajulun fil bayti. A man is in the house. Rajulun fil bayti. But it wouldn't make sense. It makes sense in English, but in Arabic it doesn't make sense. Rajulun fil bayti. Some man is in the house. Exactly, it's exactly that. So that's one of the reasons why you might use this, right? Okay. So any questions on the theory before we move on to the examples? I think it's pretty clear cut, pretty straightforward. Allah. Right. So when you have a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite word, you have likely found a harf jar ism majroor. I mean, you have likely found a mubtada muakhar and a khabar muqaddam. So now, you guys did the examples? You did the examples? Right. Or tried. Okay. You tried the examples? Excellent. So I'll do the first three because they don't actually have numbers on them. So the first one says wa and lahum, for them, a'yunun, and for them is eyes. When you come back to translate that in a more palatable English, you can say and they have eyes. You can translate it, if you want to translate it literally, you say and for them is eyes. If you want to translate it in a more flowing English, then you say and they have eyes. وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا, and for them is eyes with which they see not. But if you wanted to translate it more with a more flowing English, وَلَهُمْ أَعْيُنٌ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ بِهَا, and they have eyes with which they do not look, or and they have eyes with which they do not see. With which they do not see, I'm inserting there, that's the end of the verse, right? وَلَهُمْ, right? So what here would be this wow, don't worry about the wow. Right? It just means and. But what type of wow it is, doesn't matter for the purposes of this exercise. Lahum, for them. La would be the word li, but obviously it's la because the harf li will either be presented as li or la, depending on what it's attached to. And so sometimes lihim is more difficult to read than lahum. So the Arabs will say lahum. It's called munasaba. It's just the reading is changed to suit the harf is changed to suit the reading. So lahum, for them. The word la there would be your harf jar, and hum would be the ism majroor, which is in mahalli jar. The damir is in mahalli jar. A'yunun will now be the, and so that whole lahum there, that would be the khabar muqaddam. That would be the khabar brought forward. And then a'yunun is a ism which is indefinite, therefore it will be the mubtada, which is mu'akhar, the mubtada mu'akhar, the delayed mubtada, right? And then you translate it as they have eyes. No, a'yun. We're on the first one. We're on the first one. They have eyes. And for them is eyes. Yes? The what is, yes. The answer is yes. So how do you understand this? This I'm going to tell you something now off the record. This note is wrong. This is not marfu. It's marfu for you in Mizan. There is no way that you will understand this unless you think it's marfu. So we are going to make you think it's marfu until you get so used to this that you're able to translate it. Then, when you study it more technically, we'll tell you what it actually is. She says it's a delayed explanation. It's exactly that. It's exactly that. Because look, when you ask me, is lahum, is it marfu', is that whole thing marfu'? No. Technically, it's not. If I said that to you, I would be lying. But for the purpose of this exercise, it's marfu'. Like in your mind, you must understand it like that. But there's actually something hidden there. So, a'yunun ka'inun lahum. That's actually what this means. A'yunun ka'inun lahum. But now you have no way of understanding it because you don't understand a linguistic concept called taqdir, linguistic summation. Like you think about, you invent a meaning that's not in the text, or you extract a meaning that is implied in the text. But you can only understand the implications if you understand the grammar behind it. For example, I'm only speaking to the South here now. For example, you know that the harf jar must always have a muta'alliq. The harf jar must always be connected to something, right? Now, when I say ar-rajulu fil bayti, how do you translate that? The man is in the house. So where's the khabar? Where's the mubtada? Ar-rajulu. Where's the khabar? Wrong. The khabar is a word that is mahdhuf. The khabar is mahdhuf. It's omitted. The khabar actually is omitted, and that omission must be surmised. You must assume the omission. And then the harf jar and ism majroor is attached to the omission. Because the harf jar ism majroor must always have a linguistic attachment. It cannot be unattached. Because one of the nature of the harf is that it cannot stand on its own. It must qualify an ism. And it must be qualified by an ism. You understand that? Remember when you studied the harf, then you said the harf cannot give meaning on its own. So meaning what? Ar-rajulu fil bayt. The man in the house. But you saying is in the house. The man is what in the house? So you can surmise it by one of two words. Ar-rajulu ka'inun fil bayt. The kana yakunu means to be, to exist. That's why kaun is existence. Ar-rajulu ka'inun fil bayt. The man is existent in the house. So the word fil bayt is a harf jar ism majroor that is connected to a khabar that is omitted, and the omitted khabar, when it's brought forward, is ka'inun. And that word ka'inun is in halatul rafa. Therefore, the harf jar is connected to the word ka'inun, which is omitted. You understand? There's another way of surmising it. How do you surmise it? You surmise it by saying hadirun. Hadir means to be present. Isn't it so? هل حضر اليوم أحد من الطلبة? You're doing the qitaf now, right? So that lesson will come. So you say that الرجل حاضر في البيت. The man is present in the house. So the khabar is actually present, but it's omitted, and the harf jar ism majroor is connected to the omission. You understand? So fil bayt is not in mahalli raf. If you go anywhere else, they will laugh at you about that. But it makes sense for us to tell you that now. Why? Because it's the only way you will understand it. And it's correct. It's correct for the purpose of your development. Must I tell you why? No, you don't. You don't. Do you know why? Because Arabs who learn the language, they don't know this. When they say ar-rajulu fil bayt, they don't know that linguistically that word is omitted. They don't know that. I know that because I lived with the Arabs. And if you see, like amongst the young, they use the language. Like, for example, I was with a boy in Palestine. He was in a place called Dar Ghazal. In a place called Dar Ghazal. In this place called Dar Ghazal, this boy was doing what? This boy was doing his grammar, his homework. And I was a student of grammar at the time. So he was amazed with me. Why was he amazed with me? He was amazed with me because I was very poorly speaking Arabic to him, but I could do his homework with precision. Meaning what? He could use the language with understanding, but he didn't know the linguistic intricacies that I knew. Why? Because these linguistic intricacies, if you don't yet have a basic appreciation of the language in meaning, you cannot appreciate the theory. Therefore, it is wise for us to keep the theory away from you and first build understanding in meaning. So you understand these meanings perfectly. Once you understand them and they are solidified within you, then if we want to, we will introduce you to the linguistic intricacies behind it. And in that way, you will join between understanding and theory. You understand? But to overburden you with, that's why you're all supposed to close your ears. I'm saying this to one student in the whole class. I'm telling you this, why? To quench your thirst. To quench your thirst. But for the rest of you, this didn't take place. And that lahum is the khabar. And that khabar is in mahalli raf. You understand it? So you can say ar-rajulu fil bayt. What does it mean? Ar-rajulu ka'inun fil bayt or ar-rajulu hadirun fil bayt. For example, you say ar-rajulu ala al-kursi is on the chair. So how do you surmise that? Ar-rajulu jalisun ala al-kursi. So do you see how you have to imply a meaning in order for it to actually make sense when you think about it deeply, right? So now when you say, for example, walahum a'yunun, what does it actually mean? Don't you guys try to figure it out. Don't try to figure it out. Only the aunt is trying to figure it out. Don't you guys think about it. I'm banning you from thinking about it. They're in position of... my question is, what Arabic word do you surmise? What Arabic word is mahdhuf that you bring forward? What will it be? So you're saying what? You will say like this. You see, you can either say وَكَائِنٌ لَهُمْ or وَثَابِتٌ لَهُمْ. وَكَائِنٌ لَهُمْ وَثَابِتٌ لَهُمْ. And established for them is ears. Or وَكَائِنٌ لَهُمْ and present with them is ears. You understand? So which word are you surmising? You're surmising the khabar. The khabar doesn't actually exist. Lahum is not the khabar. It doesn't exist. Because the harf jar ism majroor cannot stand on its own. It needs an ism to qualify it. Right? That means what? That you're not qualifying the mubtada as you would have done in the first instance. You're qualifying the khabar. And how do you qualify it? By ka'inun or thabitun. Right? So back to the class. Look, I'm not supposed to tell you that, right? So don't mention it out of the class. Because you must understand that these are examples for you to understand the language. And this way is best for you. And there's no students that have studied Arabic in a short amount as you have that can translate as much as you can. Ask the other students who come here for Arabic to translate the Quran for you. Right? And then you will know the wisdom behind this teaching method. You understand? And at the top of our list of objectives is understanding. More than anything else, we want you to understand the Quran. Right? And that's why we're telling you that there can be a mubtada mu'akhar and not because we want you to get into the intricacies of the language because you must understand the intricacies of Arabic, but because the Quran will use a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada mu'akhar, and we want you to appreciate the message of the Quran through understanding the language that the Quran uses. Right? So the primary objective here is not Arabic. The primary objective is understanding the balagha, understanding the eloquence of the Quran and connecting with it as being a linguistic miracle. That is our objective. And we will take whichsoever path we will, right, to deliver you to those objectives, right? And if it is that you want to understand the intricacies of the Arabic language for itself, then you're in the wrong place. You are here to understand some intricacies of the Arabic language so that you may connect with the miracle that is the Quran. That's why you're here. You understand? And our lessons are tailored to that purpose. And in as much as meeting that objective is concerned, we are warranted in doing this. And we are correct. You understand? طيب. So let's continue. وَلَهُمْ, and for them. So what is there the wow, right? لَهُمْ, for them, is the harf jar ism majroor. And that will be the khabar muqaddam. Right? آذان means ears. And that will be the mubtada mu'akhar. So, and for them is ears, or, and they have ears. Right? Why is my screen sharing paused? No. Yes. Hmm? You understand it's not the mubtada because they are not eyes. If them was the mubtada, right, then you would have had to say, and they are eyes. But you're not saying they are eyes, you're saying for them. So you're saying for them is eyes. But now you already know that you are not speaking about the eyes. The eyes is not the focus. Them is the focus. Meaning what? You're not giving information about the eyes. You're giving information about them. And you're saying that for them is eyes. Therefore, adhanun lahum. It's the other way around, right? The information is adhanun. I mean, the khabar is adhanun. The information is eyes. So you actually are saying that. You're saying that you want to speak about the eyes. Excuse me, I heard there. You want to speak about the eyes. And what do you want to say about the eyes? You want to say that the eyes belongs to them. You want to say that the eyes belongs to them. And that's why you're using it in this manner. Ahsan. فَلَهُمْ, and so, lahum, for them, that's the harf jar, ism majroor, right, which would be the khabar muqaddam. Then you have the ajrun, is a reward. And so a reward is for them. We can say for them is reward. And that would be the mubtada mu'akhar. And they have a reward, yes. But in this instance, it will mean and they will have a reward. I'm just saying that because I know where the verse is in the Quran. Right? Okay. Now the floor is yours. وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. Let's start with the gentleman. You can start with the translation and then we'll get to the. And on the vision is a veil. Excellent. Where's your khabar muqaddam? Remember, it's a harf jar and ism majroor. So wa'ala is correct. But wa'ala what? Wa'ala abasarihim. Ala abasarihim is the harf jar, ism majroor. So that will be the khabar muqaddam. So where's the mubtada muakhar? Ghishawa. Excellent. So the ladies, walahum adabun azim. And for them is a great punishment. Excellent. Always the mubtada muakhar, always the khabar muqaddam. Lahum. Excellent. And adabun azim. Adabun azim. Excellent. The first word is the mubtada, and the second word is the sifa of the mubtada. Make sense? You can put it to. You can say the mawsuf sifa is the mubtada, right? But technically speaking, the first word is the mubtada, and the second word is the sifa of the mubtada. Make sense? Do you understand that? Is that clear to you? Clear. Okay. في قلوبهم مرض. Onlines. We have 7 onlines today.
في قلوبهم مرض. In their heart is a sickness.
In the heart is sickness. That's correct. What's the grammar?
So the khabar is في قلوبهم. And maradun is
Khabar is في قلوبهم. That's correct.
and maradun is the mubtada muakhar.
And maradun.
Maradun mubtada
Excellent.
muakhar.
And maradun is the mubtada muakhar. Excellent. Excellent. That's correct. That's correct. Okay, then we have فيه ظلمات. Gentlemen, in it are darknesses. The khabar is فيه, in it, right? And the mubtada is ظلمات. Excellent. Yes. As many as ظلمات, ظلمة, ظلمات. No. Darknesses, right? We don't generally speak like that in English. In it are darknesses, but very literally, that's actually what the verse means. And Allah does not want to say that in it is darkness. Allah wants to say that there are various forms of darkness in it. فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق. Right? So Allah is saying, مثله كمثل الذي how's the verse? مثل فيه ظلمات مثله كمثل الذي استوقد نارا. No, before that. Yes. But before that, how's the verse? The verse before that is that's from the previous page. Okay, anyways. It will come to us. مثلهم كمثل الذي استوقد نارا فلما أضاءت ما حوله ذهب الله بنورهم وتركهم في ظلمات لا يبصرون صم بكم عمي فهم لا يرجعون. أو كصيب من السماء فيه أو كصيب من السماء فيه ظلمات ورعد وبرق. Right? طيب. ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة from the ladies. They have in it pure spouses. Yes. That's the second type of translation, right? You could go they have in it, or you can say for them in it, but they both mean the same thing. For them in it is pure spouses, or they have in it pure spouses. If you want to go with the they have, you must say they will have. Right? Because speaking about Jannah. That's why I prefer you to translate it as for them is. So then you don't have to worry about the what? About the tense. Because by default, the tense is conveyed by the verbal sentence, and the fact is conveyed by the nominal sentence. Therefore, you use the nominal sentence to take it out of the tense, and you say, and for them in it is, without speaking about the tense. Okay. فأولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. Someone from the online? Am I in the right place? What's next? وَلَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌّ. I don't have that. Oh, okay. I see. Sorry. That was other notes. What notes was that? 12. Oh, that was previous. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌّ. Online? Fine. Okay. We'll suffice for that. We'll suffice for that. Did you complete all the examples? Yes. Okay. Okay, go over it again. Because now you know the rule, and you kind of have the maxim. So if you figured it out already, good for you. If you what will always be in the rough? The Mubtada is in rough. That's what we did say. The Mubtada is in rough. We did say that. So what is the rule? The rule is what? The rule is that when you find a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite word in raf, you have likely found a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. When you have a harf jar ism majroor followed by an indefinite word in halatul raf, you have likely found a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. When you have a harf jar ism majroor followed by a indefinite word in halatul raf', then you have likely found a khabar muqaddam and a mubtada muakhar. Makes sense? طيب. على هذا القدر الكفاية. We suffice for that today. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.